Members of our armed forces make sacrifices for our country, which we know, but for many, the return home from the battlefield is an even greater challenge. A new film, In Waves and War, follows former Navy SEALs and their search for healing through the use of experimental psychedelics. Here's a bit from the film's trailer.
The TBI and the memory loss, I'd meet someone, I don't know what your name is, no idea.
He was doing all the things he was told to do, and he was actually getting worse. I got his medical records. I completely changed my approach. Psychedelic medicines proved to be effective, but both are illegal in the United States. So Marcus would have to travel to Mexico.
If you love your wife, you'll go to Mexico and do psychedelics.
Especially being Veterans Day week, we thought it was an important film to spotlight. It is streaming now on Netflix, and tonight we are joined by Jon Shenk, who directed the film in partnership with Bonnie Cohen. He's right here in studio. Jon, congratulations on the film. Thanks for taking a big topic, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We've been talking a lot about the possibilities of psychedelic therapy. There's been legislation in California, some which hasn't really passed all the way through, but it is framed in this idea that psychedelics do present therapeutic possibilities. What brought you to this story in this way, both with respect to psychedelics and this story of Navy SEALs who benefit from them?
We met Marcus and Amrit Capone, who the audience meets in the film. This incredible couple. Marcus had 13 years of deployment as a Navy SEAL during the global war on terror, came home completely wrecked. You know, TBIs, serious symptoms of PTSD, what they call operator syndrome. These special operations guys have really been through the ringer during the Afghanistan and Iraq conflicts. Marcus, in the year or so before we met him, had been at his wit's end. Suicide rates among American veterans is actually killing 4 to 5 times as many troops now than at the peak of the war. It's just, and Marcus had gotten to that point, and his wife Amber said, look, I've heard about this psychedelic treatment they do in Mexico, please go do that. We met Marcus about a year later and heard his story, and we thought this would just be an amazing documentary.
Yeah, and you know, they're an interesting couple for a lot of reasons, which people get to see in your film, but in part because they founded something called VETS, the acronym Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. And part of it is now making this pathway available, at least in terms of knowledge, if not resources, for other vets who are similarly situated.
Yeah, Marcus came to after that psychedelic experience in Mexico, which we can talk about in a second, with these 2 really intense medicines. And he had a new look of hope in his eye. He looked at his wife, Amber, and he said, Amber, we have to tell the world about this. We have to save our brothers. And one of the things they did, which has been remarkable, is start an organization like you talked about. And now I think they've brought 1,200 former special operators down to Mexico to do this treatment. Even given that, it's not nearly enough. So Marcus and Amber are also involved in trying to change American legislation so that we can have this treatment here in our own country.
And your film is helping push this conversation forward. I understand there's been some screenings where there were folks in Texas and Texas government who were moved by what they saw, in part because what they're seeing are these stories, but also these animated aspects of the film that help take the interiority of the experience of trauma and perhaps the revelations on the back of the psychedelics and bring it in a filmic way, which, from what I understand, makes people feel the compassion and empathy for what they're going through.
Absolutely. You know, for so many decades, psychedelic medicines, I think, were associated with counterculture, you know, and left-wing politics, people on that end of the spectrum. But now what we're seeing with kind of newfound interest in psychedelics over the course of the last 10 or 15 years is that it's really helpful for people with drug addiction and with trauma.
Yeah.
And what we tried to do, what these guys do in Mexico is this, one of the medicines is called ibogaine. And you see that Stanford University is studying this particular compound. It comes from Africa, and it just has profound impacts for helping trauma and PTSD. The stories that these guys told us when we started researching this film were just unbelievable. They would talk about seeing a movie of their own life where they could kind of get perspective on scenes that they, you know, from their childhood or from battle. We knew right away that we had to do something special to bring that to life. And we worked with a team of animators from the UK called Studio AKA. And we were able to bring these psychedelic journeys to life in the film and in this really vivid way. We're incredibly proud about what we've been able to achieve.
It's a very interesting structure from a documentary standpoint, which is one of the things documentary filmmakers think about a lot, especially explaining the interiority of the sort of experience. As I say, the animation does a lot of that lifting. A lot of it is also just the human stories, but you had to approach these folks and others that were going on this journey. It's very intimate. They had to trust you and what you were doing as well. Talk about the process of just making it so that they understood what you were doing and they felt comfortable telling their story.
Yeah, you know, when Amrit Capone and Bonnie, my partner, and I first started talking about this film, she said, you know, the only problem with this film is you're going to have to get Navy SEALs to talk, you know, and open up to you and tell you their kind of deepest, darkest secrets. And she was right. We had to find guys who had not yet been through the treatment because we wanted to film the whole arc of that story, and then get them comfortable enough with us and with the camera to you know, to really be vulnerable in the film. Ultimately, what convinced them is they realized that by opening up and telling their stories, they might help the next guy. That's really motivating to these guys. It's kind of the no man left behind ethos of the military, and that really drove them to want to tell the story. And
I want to say, obviously, psychedelics, in this case, with the way in which they're going out of the country, because you can't do this stuff here, it's guided, there are safeguards involved. We're not suggesting to people at home to just randomly grab a psychedelic and hope to solve your problems. But this is the way it's studied as well from Stanford, Johns Hopkins, elsewhere, in these settings where it is under support. And as you say, all of this helps tell a story that transcends politics in a way too. As you've called it, it's a purple world on the back of your film.
It's a purple world. I go to events to talk about these medicines, and politics are kind of checked at the door. You might have counterculture people who you might sort of consider from sort of the hippie side of life, sitting next to ex-military or very much on the conservative side, but it doesn't matter. Almost all humans have experienced some kind of trauma in our life. Right. And what we learn more and more about these psychedelic medicines is that they can be kind of almost like 15 or 20 years of therapy in one night. You're absolutely right. It's not the kind of thing that you try at home. They take a lot of intention to prepare for the medicine, and then on the backside, they take a lot of what they call integration to take the lessons learned during the experience and then bring those into your everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, we see all these stories play out, and especially on this week of Veterans Day, these stories of the trauma that our vets experience is something that we're happy to spotlight because it needs the resources, and a film like yours talks about the ways in which they're getting beyond it and the possibilities for society too. Jon Shenk, congratulations on the film. Thank you again for doing the work.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Jon Shenk, the co-director of In Waves and War. Again, streaming on Netflix now for this Veterans Day. It's a way to feel some compassion and understanding for what our vets go through and, of course, the possibilities for healing in the future.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage. And click the subscribe button here. You can also download our app and watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.